So you guys may not actually realize this, but the American Colonial style home is actually the single most popular architectural style of single-family homes in the entire US. So they are everywhere, guys. So if you've got one, let's talk about how we could rock a little bit of the new colonial that brings a fresh new face to these kinds of structures. So most people know what George Washington looks like, but do we know what his home looks like? Now, Mount Vernon is a classic example of 1700s colonial style architecture and interiors. I mean, my gosh, it's got everything from this very important portico down to different styles and statements in each room. There's a lot going on there. So it's an important building to reference when we start talking about this new colonial that I'm going to show you. To understand new colonial, which is this hot new trend, we have to really look at what the American colonial represented, because that's the information that we're pulling from. So you have variations like what the Dutch brought, which is Dutch colonial. You have the very early English settlers, which built very simple buildings like John Adams' saltbox style farmhouse. This is a beautiful structure, truly. You have Cape Cod, which again is a little bit more of the English reference. And then as the time went on and we had more settlers coming in, things got a little bit fancier. So you end up with things like the Georgian style, which is kind of English, but more English, more detail. You also had French settlers. Now, French brought with them this beautiful wraparound porch idea, and you find those mainly down in New Orleans and in the South. Key elements to any new colonial are going to be things like a regular rectangular shape, often with a central fireplace and a very important chimney. They were always done with simple indigenous materials like stone, wood, brick, plaster, those kinds of things. You had a central front door and small windows. Remember, they couldn't blow glass very large, so they had to do small panes. So all the new colonial homes will always have the divided light windows. Now, rooms weren't very big either. Why? Because trees only grew a certain height, so they only had the ability to span roof trusses and beams to a certain length. So you'll find inside these buildings smaller, more separated out rooms, and that's something important to know when you're doing your own space. They also always had a very formal entry with a staircase, and that staircase was important because it meant that the building went up. Often there were 2 to 3 floors. So very important, the layers of where public areas went and where private bed chambers, things like that, happened up those stairs. So guys, there's 6 easy ways to kind of drive home this new colonial look for your space. Now, the number one easy way, and it's a super important one, is you have to pick a lane. What do I mean by that? You either need to be going low style, which is the older salt box, simple ideas, or you have to dive into fancy. You have to kind of go, I'm going absolutely hard on this, and it's going to be new traditional, it's going to have a Georgian feel, it's going to have something maybe French provincial inside it. It's going to be important. So pick a lane, because the two feel very different. So the second easy way to get that new colonial look is to make sure that you have some type of hardwood floor. And if you guys are one of those guys where you're absolutely about to attack a kitchen or do something significant like a kitchen or a bathroom with your home, maybe add in a small addition, change out some windows, renovate in any way, you absolutely need to check out the designer method. This is my new program for anyone who's doing any kind of significant either construction or renovation to their homes. I take you from soup to nuts. There's a link down below that'll give you more information on it. So check out the link down below. It's definitely in the description, but it's also right here, and I hope I see you there. That's what they worked with, guys. Regular materials. So you see wood in almost all of this imagery. So if you can rock a wood floor, that's great. If you can do a wood look-alike, that also works. But make sure you've got wood floors, and then area rugs were very simple. You had something as simple as a braided rug style, and then later you also had a few kind of Persians or imported rugs that were brought in. So either one of those two on the wood floors gets you there. So the number 3 way to get this new colonial look is absolutely painted molding. So paint was easily accessible and relatively inexpensive, so colonials used a lot of it. Wood was used kind of in variations, so they always just painted it, and they painted it some amazing colors. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about palette, but it made the buildings that were really simple in structure look more rich, look more warm and inviting. And it's a great look. I love this blue or these greens. These are amazing new colonial style colors. The number 4 easy way to make sure you've got new colonial is window treatments. Now, you probably noticed that the majority of these buildings all have exterior shutters. Some of them don't even function, but believe me, in the real colonial period, they functioned. So you always needed to have a window treatment of some sort. Shutters were easy because they could make them out of wood. So that's great, but a lot of people can't really afford functioning shutters. So what do you do instead? You do window treatments that are inside, like drapery. So drapery is an absolute must. You see it in every space in there. Some of it is fancier, if you could afford it, and some of it was very simple, almost farmhouse style. So make sure that you have a drapery treatment and a window treatment of some sort happening in every room. Now guys, the 5th element you need to have to get this new colonial look is you absolutely have to nail the palette. And that's really important. When you take a look at some of these rooms, paint was used a lot. But sometimes the rooms were done in a soft white, like a plaster white. But all the trim was decorative and painted. You also have these beautiful New Providence blues, these lovely greens. These colors were made from nature, but they were plentiful, but they were soft. So you have to make sure that if you're going to paint, you want to make sure that you're getting the palette right for the lane you've picked. Now, when we saw George Washington's, they were a bit brighter. He could afford different pigments. When we're looking at regular style homes from the colonial period, they were much softer. So pick your lane and pick your palette. The 6th element you've got to nail to get this new colonial look is to absolutely look at your furnishings. They were simple, guys. So when you're picking a lane, you're either going to go very simple, almost farmhouse style, lots of straight legs, ladder back chairs, whatever was available, they used those. Or if you're gonna go Georgian and a little bit higher, you could have probably afforded to import some antiques, something with some detail carved into it, but you're looking at either simple or formal on your furnishings. And of course, you're going to keep it in a traditional layout because that's all they did. And the rooms are smaller, so you want to make sure that your furnishings are smaller as well. And that will take you into that new colonial look. So either way that you go with new colonial, whether or not it's formal or whether or not it's rather simple, make sure that you're intentional about it. Now, check out these videos. Let me know in the comments down below if you like this new style, and be sure and check out Design Space, and I'll see you guys soon.